Welcome to A Week in Pixelverse, where tonight we're talking about MatPat. That's right, the game theorist himself. We are spilling the tea. We're getting into that YouTube drama, that delicious clickbaity drama. But in actuality, what I just want to talk about is how MatPat haters really don't understand the point of the channel and really miss the point to an egregious degree. So where does all the hate for MatPat really come from? Well, it comes from people being fans of things and not liking what MatPat has to say about the lore or the story, the canon, the etc. of how the various game universes that people like work. People don't like being told, surprise, your main character is a psychopath. Surprise, your main character has ridiculous powers that would break physics. And some people are just like, no, you're missing the point. That's not the point. Sonic is cool because he goes fast and is cool. It doesn't matter if it doesn't match physics. Mario is just a fun plumber who goes hoo-ha wahoo. He's not a communist. He's not a sociopath. Things like that. And obviously, yeah, that's the case. MatPat knows that's the case. The entire point of MatPat's channel, as he called it in the early days, in the cringy early days, was that the whole point of the Game Theorist channel was to be a tangential education channel. What's tangential education? Basically, it's when you learn a little bit about something from one thing and decide, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to go educate myself about that topic in depth for my own sake because I found it slightly interesting over here during the other thing that I found cool. So for the most part, it's, do you like video games? Well, here's a funny scenario that we can create using physics calculations and math to come to some wacky conclusion about your video game. Hey, did you think that was cool? Maybe you would also like physics and math. Maybe pick up a textbook for you to read. It's really that simple. He's not out to ruin fandoms. He's not even out to actually claim that Wario is 20 feet tall or any nonsense like that. He doesn't actually think that Has-Been Hotel is directly connected to Gravity Falls Bill Cipher. And that's actually a really good video to use to accentuate my point, to really put a pin on it, is the Has-Been Hotel film theory episode. That episode was not actually about overthinking the logistics of how that universe's story works and breaking it down and figuring out exactly what the main character needed in order to have a satisfactory plot. It wasn't about the story or the animation at all. MatPat spent the vast majority of that video talking about the death rates of the world at large, particularly with regards to worldwide death rates related to drug use and worldwide death rates related to violent crime, because those were the two things stated by the show as what would wind you up in hell. Not as a moral statement, but simply because he was going along with the bit. So what's the tangential learning benefit there? Well, for one, it opens up some people's eyes to the actual pervasiveness of problems related to drug use and problems related to violent crime. As a person who was actually told in high school by people on my debate team that there was no racism in the world anymore, I kind of feel like some people need to be told that violent crime does in fact exist and is a pervasive problem. Being an advocate for not heavily punishing light recreational drugs like marijuana doesn't automatically mean you should be pro all drug use and all drug traffic, because recreational drug use when related to heavy drugs can and is a real problem that causes death among a vastly significant portion of the human population as a whole. And if we care about healthcare, welfare of society, and people not dying for unnecessary reasons, then these things are important to know about. And on the other hand, the tangential learning benefit is that in order to collect that data and in order to interpret it correctly, you're going to need a background in statistics. That's the STEM side, the mathematics side that the game theory family of channels is always pushing so heavily for. When you're watching a game theory video, a MatPat video, you have to realize that you're not going in it for the sake of the fandom. You're going into it for the sake of finding out some random fact about something that you may not know or may already be aware of. And for every single video, even the ones like unnecessarily driving into Five Nights at Freddy's because they get good views, there is always some attempt to insert some outside real-world related information to expand on the theory in ways that aren't necessarily connected to or inside the story. So why am I bothering making a video defending a giant YouTube channel that really doesn't need any defending and is plenty used to the hate that it gets for people missing the point of the tangential learning focus? Well, that's because on the one hand, I completely understand where the outrage comes from, and on the other, I was highly inspired by game theory to make my own videos and to make the purpose of my channel be to spread educational content about the philosophical inspirations and potential of video games. When it comes to fandoms and media, it's very frustrating when someone tries to essentially forcibly insert some information that isn't necessarily present just for the sake of it, just to make something, as opposed to actually trying to say something significant or profound about the piece of media. That's the main reason I ended up not watching Wisecrack anymore for their video game philosophy videos, because it just felt like they were taking the easy route to insert something that could easily be applied to anything just for the sake of highlighting a philosopher, whether they were related to or had any reason to be related to the piece of media they were covering. A common joke among psychologists is that no matter what the situation, you can always just assume it's Freud, because Freud's theories are so broad that they can be equally applicable to anything, even without any concrete relatedness. In philosophy, our Freud, our person whose quotes can be applied to anything no matter what the idea or meaning behind the words are, is Nietzsche, because of his very flowery and poetic writing style. And yet Wisecrack loved to put Freud and Nietzsche into nearly everything because they're well-known figures, gets the clicks. Take one well-known thing from Group A, one other well-known thing from Group B, put it together, you got a good video. But it was my not liking that process that made me want to focus on seeing games themselves and their stories as philosophically valid on their own, that I didn't need to include a philosopher unless the game gave me a reason to see that influence directly and expose it. Otherwise, I just take a video game as a piece of philosophical text, as a piece of art that has philosophical value on its own, and deliver that message that the story wants to tell. And especially highlighting how gameplay lets you interact with those philosophies, which is something that I frequently found missing from Wisecrack's videos as well. So I really do get it. I really get that frustration of having to see something inserted into a story or game that you like when it is clearly unnecessary or irrelevant. But I think that MatPat haters could get over it a little bit if they really focused on the actual intent of the videos. The intent is not your fandom. It does not matter to your fandom. It does not matter to the story or the actual content of the piece of art that you like. The scripts are created not with the intention of saying something profound about the game, but crafted around the point of tangential learning that they want to express in that video. The game theorist team mines through potential topics of conversation, finds one little thing that they can attach to, and tie into an interesting fact or interesting thing that they want to discuss so that they can talk about that tangential learning point as much as possible. Game theory videos do not care about being correct or right about a video game or uncovering a secret story. It's really mostly about what can they teach and can we get you interested in this other thing by waving the flag of something else you like next to it. And personally, I just find it very fun to over-exaggerate or to over-speculate about something to the point of absurdity. That's good comedy, if you ask me. So maybe all of this video has missed the point of where the hate from the haters is coming from, and that they just have a different sense of comedy than I do. So in summary, hate trains are no good. Get off at the next station. You'll have a much happier life. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you liked this video, make sure to actually like it by hitting the button and the subscribe button as well. I'll see you next time, and remember, stay true.